Hey, I'm Axel. I'm real. The following isn't.
Ever get that feeling? Like you're trying to squeeze a whole creative project into these tiny little boxes of time.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're supposed to be this creative powerhouse for an hour maybe, then the rest of the day, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. We're going to take a deep dive into someone's experience trying to, well, make their creative dreams happen, I guess you could say, and some of the surprising things they learned along the way about, well, what actually works. I'm the host, by the way, in case you're new here.
And I'm the expert. Always happy to be back for another deep dive.
So trying to force creativity into a schedule.
Yeah, it's a struggle, for sure. I mean, the source we're looking at today, they talk about how back in high school, they were convinced they could do any project in just 2 weeks, no problem.
2 weeks? Seriously?
That was the thinking.
That's some serious pressure.
Right.
But I get it. It's easy to think you can just knock stuff out in these short bursts. I've been there. Did it work out, this whole 2-week challenge thing?
Not really, no. Let's just say they learned the hard way that bigger creative goals, they usually need a bit more, how should I put it, breathing room.
Makes sense.
They actually compare it to running a marathon. You can't just sprint the entire way.
Right. Solid analogy.
Yeah.
So sprinting's out. What did they find actually does work?
Okay, so they landed on 3 main strategies. The first one might seem obvious, hard work.
Right.
But we're not just talking about putting in the hours, you know?
Yeah.
It's more about, being willing to really push past your comfort zone. You know those limits we put on ourselves, those I can't do this kind of thoughts?
Oh, for sure. I know those well.
You gotta push past those.
So less about the clock, more about the struggle.
Exactly.
Okay, I can get behind that. I know some of my best ideas have come from pushing through those this is way too hard moments.
Yeah.
What else did they come up with?
Planning.
Okay.
And not just like casual planning.
Right.
But really like sitting down before you start on something.
Yeah.
And asking those tough questions like, is this even possible? Do I really want to spend my time on this? That sort of thing.
It's like checking to make sure you've got everything you need before you start baking a cake.
Exactly.
You don't want to get halfway through and realize you're missing the sugar or something.
Yeah.
I could see how that would be a good way to avoid frustration down the line. Did they have any, real life examples of how this played out in their own creative work?
They did. So they were venturing into real estate and they were trying to get an Airbnb up and running.
Okay.
And they realized really quickly that without a solid plan,
Yeah.
they were potentially headed for disaster.
Yikes.
Like a financial disaster.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Tough lesson, but a valuable one.
Ouch. Nothing like a looming financial crisis to really highlight the need for a plan.
Right.
Okay, so that's 2. Hard work and planning. What's the third strategy?
This one's all about critical review.
Okay.
Taking a step back, and being honest about how things are going.
Yeah,
Even if it means admitting something just isn't working.
that's tough.
And sometimes that critical review, it means knowing when to just quit.
That's something I think a lot of us struggle with, right? Like knowing when to call it quits can feel like giving up entirely.
For sure. But what's interesting is this person actually talks about how they learned to think about quitting differently. Not as giving up on creativity altogether, but more like giving yourself permission to let go of things that aren't working.
I love that.
Oh,
Giving
well.
yourself permission. It's like taking the pressure off.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got these 3 strategies. Hard work, planning, and critical review. But isn't there this whole fear that comes with, stepping back from a project?
Oh, yeah.
Even temporarily.
Yeah.
Like you're going to lose momentum or somebody's going to steal your big idea.
All the time. The source talks about struggling with all of that.
Yeah.
But they found that, the real math of time management, it came down to this. What's it going to cost me if I rush into this without thinking? Versus, what could I potentially gain if I just pause for a second, think things through, maybe even come up with a new plan?
So almost like a cost-benefit analysis for your creative energy, right?
Yeah.
That's actually really smart. I've never thought of it like that before.
Right. And that leads right into their last point. This one can be scary for some folks.
Okay. I'm listening.
Getting your work out there, sharing your ideas, even if they're not, perfect yet, to get feedback.
Ugh. See, that's where I get stuck every time.
Yeah.
It's that fear of someone seeing my idea and then, bam, they're off to the races with it.
Well, tell me about it. I used to be the same way. Used to imagine someone taking my half-formed idea and then boom, they're a millionaire.
Right.
But then it hit me, most of the really great stuff, it doesn't come from just one person hiding away in a cave. It comes from, collaboration, bouncing ideas off of other people, being open to feedback.
That's a really good point. So maybe it's less about keeping things secret and more about finding the right people to share with, people who will, actually help you grow, not steal your thunder.
Exactly. Finding your people, your trusted circle, or even just starting small, sharing little bits at a time. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 overnight.
Okay, yeah, baby steps. That feels much less scary. So to sum up our deep dive today, we've talked about pushing through those creative limits with hard work, the importance of planning and reviewing your progress, and then even scarier, being brave enough to both pause and share your work.
Love it. It's about changing your whole perspective, These aren't roadblocks, they're just part of the journey.
Absolutely. Now for everyone listening, here's something I want you to think about. What's one small step, just one, that you can take today to apply one of these strategies to your own creative work? Doesn't have to be huge. Even a tiny step can get you moving.